Labor Talks. I'm your host, Laurie Gruber. And our special guest today is Zoe Roberts. Zoe currently serves as an Eau Claire County Board Supervisor from District 27.
Yep.
Welcome to Labor Talk, Zoe.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. For the viewing audience, and for especially if anybody from District 27 is tuning in, would you tell us a little bit about you?
Okay, a little bit about me. I started in politics about a year and a half ago, call it, and that's being generous. I started canvassing for Jeff Smith and Jody Emerson, knocking on doors, handing out literature, and having conversations with people. From there, I got involved in, from there, actually Ann Francis, who was Jeff's campaign manager, tried to recruit me the night of the election for Tony Evers and all of those folks, as well as Jeff's night of election and Jody's night of election. So she tried recruiting me, and I said, oh gosh, not me. I'm not the one that you want. And then, enter Laura Benjamin. So then I recruited Laura. We got Laura elected. I kind of de facto became her campaign manager. And from there, toward the end of Laura's campaign, I got involved in activism. And then by this last September, September really, some friends had talked me into running for the county board seat. And then Brandon stepped down, and I took over by being appointed. And last night I just got my first win, so to speak, with the housing ordinance that has inclusive language in it being approved by the board. So
Awesome.
I think that's a big thing for me.
Does it make you feel good to know you got something done?
It does. It feels really good. It feels really awesome to know that you've potentially made a difference in somebody's life and made a change that is worthwhile and good and positive for the community.
And you currently serve on that seat in District 27. For those who don't know, can you tell us where District 27 is?
Well, we're in District 27 right now. So District 27 kind of runs from the Eau Claire River up toward Birch, but it kind of curves around Bellevue and up through Star, up to about LaSalle Street, down McKinley, and then back down to Galloway. So it's like got a hook
To it.
Yeah.
But we're sitting in it right now.
So we're sitting in it right now. There's the residential sector, and then there's the industrial sector of this particular district.
And what issues do you feel are the most important for the board to work on, especially when it comes to 2027?
I think when it comes, the most important issue that I can think of this year is really the budget. We have to get our general fund under control, and that's across the whole community. The more we deplete that fund, the harder it's going to be to borrow money for ongoing projects, for infrastructure, for a lot of other issues that we need to take care of as well. So if we can't have a decent interest rate, we're going to pay for it, and that means you and I are going to pay higher taxes. So it's important that we get that fixed and under control. As to how we do it, there are a lot of different ideas, but we are going to have to look at probably making some cuts to things that we may or may not need. So that's the foundational start for it, at least.
And you're right, if they don't have the money, they're not going to be able to do any of the projects that are coming up.
Right.
And we know that there's a lot of the departments in the county that are state mandated and underfunded.
Or not funded at all.
And you can't keep stealing from Peter to pay Paul if you want it to run properly.
That's right.
So it's good to see that there's people that are going to keep them fiscally responsible. So you have a marketing degree, and
Yep.
you previously worked, as you said, on someone else's campaign for those interested in running for public office. Was it difficult for you to switch and run your own campaign?
It's a lot harder to run your own campaign. The difference is like when you're not the candidate, you can see things with a lot more objectivity. So, in explaining this is going to be difficult, but it's like you run yourself into the ground as a candidate. So you think about everything, you don't shut down, and it goes on for about 3 months where you do this, even for just a local office. It's a demanding process to go through, to do all of the interviews, to give the, to continue on with the county board duties, and then work a full-time job is difficult. It takes a lot out of a person to do it. So I think that when we start talking about being a local candidate versus a statewide candidate versus a national candidate, any of those jobs, no matter whether they're small or big, are going to be demanding on the person and on the person's ability to do other things outside of just politics. So I don't know if I necessarily answered the full question.
But I've also noticed that, okay, I'm a village board candidate now.
Okay.
I'm on my village board. I was asked to run for the state, and I looked at it and I'm like, first of all, I don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, you're more under scrutiny, and your life becomes less and less of your own the higher up the position is that you go to.
That's true. Even as a county board member, your life is very much in the public eye. You have to be mindful of what you're doing. You have to be mindful of how people perceive you, how people interact with you, and just continually try to maintain your public persona so that you're viewed in a positive way, because no one wants to be viewed in a negative light. So.
And not that we're trying to discourage people from running, but if there's someone out there that's never been in public service like we were a couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
what would we say to them to encourage them to run, to get them involved?
Well, okay, so as much as we just talked about the bad part of it, there is the good part of it too, where you do something that really helps the community and you feel really good about it. So there's kind of like an endorphin high you get from passing an ordinance or something that you've really done and hopefully made a difference in somebody else's life, and hopefully made a difference in a lot of people's lives by doing something really good for the community. And that's really why you would get involved in, say, a county board race or a school board race or a city council race, is because you want to give something back to the community of which you're a part of.
Well, and I've seen a lot of new politicians,
Mm-hmm.
or people that run for office, that once they're in, and if that first thing that they wanted so badly doesn't go right, they get totally discouraged. It's a matter of keep to it. I'm a list maker, so I make my list, cross off them, like, so we can get our
I do
happy
that
endorphins.
too.
But they need to keep trying. Find
Yeah.
the way to get it through. Find why it's important for everybody, like you did with the housing one, so that it's important for them to get it through.
Yeah, it takes a certain amount of tenacity. You have to be mentally strong in order to do it, because you're gonna have people say no, and you're gonna have people throw up roadblocks in your way, and it's really a matter of defeating those roadblocks and those obstacles along the way in order to get the things done that you want to get done. How you do it, you just stay on it.
And it's got to be positive.
And it's
Yes,
gotta
you'd
be
like
positive.
to reach across and
Yeah.
shake that person who's speaking against you, but we can't do that. We've got to do it.
Yeah, it's finding the right resources, finding other communities that have done things that you want to do too, and then having that proof that this has been done, that it can be done, and then it's like you're kind of comping policy with other communities. And by doing that, you're taking the best of all worlds and putting it into our world here in Eau Claire. So it's pretty important.
If it can be done somewhere else, it can be done here.
That's right.
A lot of it's education, just getting people educated about that issue.
Yes, and really, I mean, getting them passionate about it too, so that they care about the cause is another issue. We do that a lot. Through activism, not necessarily through the county board members, but through our activism as individuals. We do that a lot. We try to get people involved and try to bring them into the fold, because if we don't do that, there is no next generation then.
Correct. And so that we don't have the young people saying, what's in it for me? My vote doesn't count. Sam McKinney and I were speaking about how the first time she ran for city council, she lost by 7 votes.
Yeah.
It's important to vote. I have a niece who's like, I don't care, this one's, whose opinions am I supposed to listen to? I said, don't look at my opinions, mom's opinions, grandma's opinions. I said, look at the issues. Find out what's important for you.
Right.
Find out where the candidate stays on the issue, and now go vote, because that's what's important. Especially as a young female graduating from college, bless you, she needed to know that someone gave up a lot for her to be able to have that right. You need to go vote.
Yeah, it's not only that they need to vote for the causes and the people that represent the causes that they believe in and that they need. So if you're looking at a race and you're looking at, say, me versus somebody else, and so what I believe in, my stump is based off of equality and fighting poverty, and it's need-based for the Eau Claire area. We have issues with both of them. What that other person would run on is up to them. I'm not in control of that. I don't know I don't know anything about like what my opponent is running on. And honestly, all I can do is manage my own campaign and manage my own messaging so that we have the right messaging that people will appeal to, especially young people. Because I think that I have a strong appeal to the younger generation because I represent a lot of their values.
Well, you're from the younger generation. I know you've worked on the Gender X program here in Wisconsin. Can you tell our viewers what that is?
So Gender X is something that started actually in Tibet and has been working from the western United States eastward, which is kind of backwards of how it normally works. What it is adding a third option to things like driver's licenses, passports, and birth certificates. And the reason why it's important is, especially on any sort of ID, let's say that you're just beginning your transition, and you change your name, and you don't have the affidavit from your doctor yet to change your gender on your ID. So your name says Zoe Roberts, but your gender still says male, and then you go to vote. And all of a sudden, the person at the voter table says, yeah, I don't think this is a real ID, so you can't vote. One of your rights has just been taken away from you.
Voter suppression.
Yes. So getting that fixed and adding that presents an option for people that are in transition. It also presents an option for people that identify as non-binary. And those people don't identify as either male or female to begin with, so this represents really who they are.
So if we can get it done on passports, driver's licenses, would the next step then be like job applications, college applications, where they ask it? And
Yes.
a lot of that has to do with affirmative action.
Yes.
Where they have to hire so many women, they have to hire so many of this race. They have, to get that off from there would make it totally non-discriminatory.
Yes. And that is, the anti-discrimination thing is another positive aspect of it, where it helps people to say, hey, I don't identify as this, I don't want to identify as either, I just want to be X, and I'm nothing special, and let's
not be harassed.
And not be harassed, and let's move forward. So.
And where are we at in the state as far as being able to get that done,
The last I talked to Jeff is that they've been working on it. I know there's another senator or assemblyman working on it as well. As far as getting it through, it's a lot of stages, it's a lot of steps, and I don't know where we're at as far as getting it approved, although I think a lot of people really want it to get approved, but it is a process at the state level to make a change like that, because it's a big change.
And I would imagine our governor now would sign it, but it's a matter of getting it through the House and the Senate.
Yes. Well, and determining whether which pieces need to go through the House and Senate. So
that's worded properly. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody should keep watching for the progress of that one.
Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing process, and it's going to take some time.
Do you feel that Eau Claire and our state are doing enough to bring about equality or equal rights in our state?
I feel as though from the time that I grew up, to today, I feel as though we've taken a step backwards with equality. Just observationally, it just feels a lot different today than it did, where we were actually making a lot of strides and a lot of efforts under, say, Jim Doyle, and then it all stopped, and it seems like it went backwards. Yeah.
I've testified when they were looking at the Fair Share, Act 10, and the right to work for less laws, none of them would be able to get a job in their field and get paid. I mean, Walker got rid of our equal pay, which
Yeah.
we were trying to get, still wasn't equal.
Yeah.
But these girls are making $7,500 to $10,000 less a year than men in the same positions. And that shouldn't be anymore.
Well, so women in the Chippewa Valley make $15,000 less
Less.
than men in their similar positions on average.
And that's so sad. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot of money. And we have a lot of single moms.
Yes, we do.
And that's money that could help. You know, the old boys club was, well, he's got a family to support.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
She does too, exactly. And when you start talking about that, you're also looking at the median household income for Eau Claire and Eau Claire County, which is also below the national average. So if we were to take, it's $12,000 below the national average, in fact. So if we were to take the income that women should be making and raise it up to that level, we'd be above the median income at the national level for each household. And that's one way to fix the problem. You're also dealing with a high poverty rate among women aged 18 to 24 of roughly, I believe it's 26.4%. We are trapping young girls in poverty if we don't do something to help them get out of it.
I really think too that it's, again, a lack of education. $7.50 is not a livable wage.
No.
$12.50 is poverty level.
Yes.
So if we can get that up to 15, and who does most of the shopping in our economy today? It's not the men. Unless you're talking about big objects like a car or truck. Campers, snowmobiles, toys.
Right. Toys.
But women do that, so that means
Yep.
technically we drive that economy. And if they don't have a decent pay, and especially the ones in the service industry with the tipping, in the waitresses and the bartenders, and who are way, way below poverty level. And if we're gonna get them educated, now they're gonna be bogged down with school, how do we do that? How do we bring that back around?
Well, I think that labor laws have taken a hit for a number of years. And it's not just through, the Walker administration or, Tommy Thompson. It dates all the way back to the Reagan years, where labor union laws were being dismantled. And the more we dismantle them, the greater disparity, the disparity becomes. So you're looking at a situation where you have CEOs of companies in the last 40 years, and their salaries have gone up by 940-ish%, give or take. And meanwhile, your salary and my salary has gone up by about 12. So every year that goes by with the cost of living increases, we as regular people are being squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point. And it's almost to the point now where you can't afford to work and live.
Especially if there's daycare on top of it and healthcare,
Right.
paying back a school loan. I've
Right.
seen some graphs lately where the middle class, the graphs used to usually go like this. Your low income's over here,
Yeah.
middle income was here, and then of course your tops. Now it's more like this,
Yep.
and then a huge spike at the end
A
for that
huge-
1% of 1%. I really think we're going back into a feudal society where these people feel we should not be educated, we should not question what we're being given.
Yep. It's a type of new serfdom, is what I call it. We're being treated like serfs.
We're slaves. You just do what we tell you to say
Yeah.
or do, and that's it. So we definitely need to work on that. And speaking of job growth, are you satisfied with the job growth of Eau Claire County, and how can we improve it?
I'm really not. I look around, I feel like Eau Claire County's job growth has stagnated, and it's been stagnated for a very long time, which is why our salaries are so low in Eau Claire, is because there's no competition for employees. We haven't done a good job of attracting businesses, and we really haven't done a good job of making ourselves attractive to get those businesses here. One of the ways to do that is through an EDI program. EDI stands for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Within that program, there's typically a mechanism called an MEI, which stands for Municipal Equality Index. That is a tool by which communities compare themselves to. So the higher your rating, let's take Fort Collins, Colorado, which I believe clocks in at about an 80. So they have a pretty good score. Milwaukee's got a really high score too. So those places are more attractive than Eau Claire, which isn't even on the list right now. So if we were to make ourselves more attractive by using the tools available to us, that would help us get new business and start hopefully creating some social mobility by getting increased wages in our community.
I live in St. Clair County, but I work here. My husband works in the cities.
Yep.
Where he could drive 10 miles more, go across the border, and he can make $10, $15 more an hour.
Yes.
And they wonder why they can't fill jobs in Wisconsin. It's because we don't pay
Right.
a competitive wage.
Right.
We need to change that too.
Yeah, we need to tighten labor laws and bring back, unions from where they were, and bring them back to where they once were. In fact, what we've done, like I said, with all of the union smashing and stuff, is really ruin our own economy, because Wisconsin was a very blue collar state with a lot of labor that was union at one point.
When the labor union count was at like 40% or more, the whole economy was much better
Yes.
than now when it's way back down here.
Yes.
And when you've got corporations, groups that are set up like Wisconsin Manufacturing and Commerce, which was one of Scott Walker's little babies, they're not protecting us. And then they fill the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, with non-labor friendly people.
Yes.
It's just compounding
Yes.
that backpedaling.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why I got into politics, in fact, is because I got tired of working my butt off and not making anything and not making any progress. It's just like, okay, I'm working just to barely scrape by. That's not really what people should be working for and striving for. People should be striving for a decent quality of life on top of it all. And if we have to strengthen unions, I'm all for it in order to get that back. Because again, from the time that I started growing up to today, we've gone backwards, and I'm tired of it.
Happy employees are productive employees. I worked for a company that was non-union that discriminated against me because of a health issue.
Yeah.
Swore I'd never work for a company like that again unless it was union, and I found one that was union. And you don't see that mentality there, that they're discriminating against sex, age, health.
Yeah.
And they don't understand. People say, "Oh, unions had their time. We don't need them anymore."
Well, it also gets into the state laws as to how we define ourselves, as an at-will state, which is, again, designed to hurt the worker.
Right to work for less.
Right to work for less, exactly.
Do you feel that the infrastructure is sufficient here in Eau Claire County to meet the needs?
I feel like we have decent roadways and paths like that. I think we have a lot to offer in that regard, but I do think that adding high-speed rail would be a very beneficial thing for our community. Not only to go to the Twin Cities, but also say Milwaukee, Madison, or Chicago. We're not on an island in our area, and we need to stop living like we are on an island.
It would take a lot of stress off the highways.
It would.
Especially with Wisconsin, with the permafrost, and the upheaval's going to affect the roads anyway, but when you put that much traffic on the roads besides.
Well, especially all of, basically everything is shipped into Eau Claire via truck. So if you remove a lot of trucks from the freeway, your freeways are going to last a lot longer.
And it's not that we want to take the jobs away from those people, that's not what we, but they're a way to shift them into the transportation market on trains.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that comes from the West Coast by train.
Right.
And then it's shipped from here to the East Coast. And then shipped out again on the ship. So it comes in to the West Coast by a ship, is railed over to the East Coast, and then back out on another ship. There's no reason that we can't do more of that and switch the people to that occupation.
Well, I think it's a matter of having more rail stops, so that you wouldn't have to have the long distance journey with the trucks. I mean, they would still be needed, but they wouldn't be needed to drive, an hour and a half from Twin Cities to Eau Claire. If you had an option in Chippewa Falls or Eau Claire or Altoona to offload those cans, those containers, it would be a much more efficient system for us to get, goods and services from abroad.
Right. And then you'd have a local short distance hauling instead of a
Right.
long distance hauling.
Right.
And especially on winter roads in Wisconsin and other states that have snow and ice problems where there've been multi-car pileups with semis involved.
Yes.
Car and semi there's no way that car is gonna win.
No.
Now, you're currently up for reelection,
Yes.
because you were appointed to the seat, now you're running for it.
Technically, I'm up for election.
For election.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to say to the voters of District 27 to make them understand they need to go vote?
I think the biggest thing that I would say is, you know, you have a choice to make. You have a choice to make between somebody who's going to represent you and do their very best to represent your values, who you are as a worker, or you have an option to not do that. And so I would say, please go vote. Whether you vote for me or not, it doesn't matter. It's still your right to vote, and it's an important right, no matter what.
Now, going forward beyond the election, when we know you're going to get elected, what main issues that you feel that you're going to need to work on for District 27?
Main issues, I view District 27 as needing job growth, to be honest with you, and better paying jobs, because a lot of my district is rentals, and these are people like myself that don't necessarily have a lot of money. We're not rich people, but we're working and we're trying. It's just that we need opportunity to really kind of, you know, put some roots down and grow.
Whereas the opportunities right now aren't there.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of generally the Chippewa Valley in general. It's just like we're falling behind, and by not being more progressive, by not having better policies in place that make our communities attractive to businesses to locate here, we're just going to continue to lag behind the rest of the country.
And we're not talking about businesses like Foxconn.
No.
They own, 2 properties in our area, I think?
Something like
Or
that.
2 offices, or?
Yes, and nothing has been done with either, and it's basically just a big con job. It's a boondoggle.
Right, and for us to give them all these tax breaks,
Yes.
but we haven't seen job one yet in the state of Wisconsin for Foxconn.
It's a major boondoggle. I'm not sure I want to get into it too deep, but let's just say I thought that the first time I saw that, I'm like, yeah, this is nothing but a joke. This is a waste of money.
Smoke and mirrors job.
Yes.
And I think every voter out there needs to be understanding of companies like that who are going to try to come in and screw up the minds of the people on the boards, thinking that they're coming here to do what's great for us.
Well, so one of the things that they're starting to talk about now with Foxconn is there's apparently a loophole. And this shouldn't surprise anyone. They're talking about hiring temporary staff in order to meet their labor requirements so that they can get state dollars.
And then they also don't have to pay them benefits.
Exactly.
It's another form of slavery. Get rid of them before they become a permanent employee.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
You know, I'm not sure if there's anything I want to add to it. I think I've shared most of my opinions with you.
It was great getting to know you.
Yeah.
Well, that's today's program. And my thanks to our viewing audience for watching and tuning in and to getting to know Zoe. And thank you, Zoe, for coming. Our show wouldn't be possible without you.
Well, thanks for having me.
My thanks also to those folks working behind our cameras here at Valley Media Works, who not only make the show possible, but give us an outlet for our working family voices. And the show is aired, Labor Talks is aired twice weekly on channel 993. You can also use your favorite search engines and keywords, Labor Talks and CBC TV, and find us on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.